All right, guys. So there are a couple things I wanted to show because these are fun tools that we use, and I know you've got them as well, and they're fun B&H products. So since you're going into Flash, I thought it would be kind of fun to show some fun, easy, inexpensive Flash tools. So I'm going to let you take this one and talk a little bit about the Impact softbox.
Yeah, I've got one right here too.
Yeah.
They can make friends. You can get two and have a buddy.
Like little guys.
Buddy Flash box. These are awesome because they just basically strap right onto the front of your speedlight, any speedlight. It's got a double baffle system. I love that Velcro, meaning it diffuses it really, really well. So you have a very even, soft light from the front of it.
I have the question right out of the gate. Do you use the inner baffle or not? This is the question that I ask everybody. This little guy in here is the inner baffle.
The inner baffle, yes.
And it baffles people on whether or not they should use them or not.
If you're in the inner circle, you should use the inner baffle.
Are you an inner baffle user or not?
It depends on what quality of light you want.
Let's talk about that then. How do you know the difference?
Well, sometimes you want the maximum even use of the surface area in your light, in which case the baffle helps to further diffuse because there is a natural hot spot in the front of your light, even though the flash heads do put them pretty evenly, but you have a slight hot spot, so the inner baffle helps to even that out, and you're going to get total softness all around.
Okay. So that's important. So obviously when it's in, is it cutting light though? Are we losing light or is it, but it is spreading light out, but you are losing a little bit of light.
You're going to lose a little bit, yeah. I mean, it varies between maybe half stop, 3/4 stop, depending on how thick that inner baffle is.
Perfect. So we remove the inner baffle and then of course we have that hot spot. So we've got a nice blinding light coming through the center. I used to tell people that once you're a professional, you no longer need the inner baffle because you understand how lights work. So that's kind of was my excuse, but the truth was I actually just kept losing my inner baffles. So I would make up stuff as I went along because students would always say,
I just happen to have an extra inner baffle right here I'm going to give to you.
So I would ask all the time people what they did. And I found that most speakers and people that were educators did not use their inner baffle. And now you're saying it's really based on quality of light for you. And I think it might be the rest of us just lost ours. It's possible, but good to know. The final answer is obviously you're going to lose a little bit of light, but you're going to gain more quality, a softer quality of light, correct?
Softer, more even quality, yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. So tell me a little bit more about these little guys.
Well, when you're looking for something that's, because it's small, you're going to have a fairly direct type of light, and I'm going to talk about those in the next segment here about the qualities of light, but it's going to be fairly direct, fairly dramatic. You're going to have some shadows. It's not going to, give you a big soft portrait, obviously, but a lot of times that's what you want. You want something dramatic but slightly soft, and that's where this is great. It's also going to be nice if you're just shooting flash on camera, like in an event, and you want to soften it a little bit. You're not going to carry a giant softbox on top of your camera.
Sure.
But you need something better than just direct flash. This will help a lot.
You know what I thought was cool is how easily it attaches, because my concern is when you buy something, is it going to work for everything you have? But we're talking awesome little Velcro straps. And it was nice and snug too. Worst thing in the world is you're shooting and all of a sudden something falls off the front of your camera or you're fumbling around with that. But it's definitely, it's double Velcroed, so it's not help.
This works good.
Who let him be on the first show? That's what I want to know.
I like this.
Seriously,
it's very
how did
easy.
you get here? How did this happen?
All right. So what we're going to use is something like this, which is the Impact Quick Box little mini thing, because it'll make a fairly dramatic light, not quite as harsh as direct flash, a little softer than having a grid spot, which we're using on the background. So it kind of gives us a nice little directional light without being too harsh. We'll try that over here. I also don't want too much light to spill all around, and that's one of the reasons why you use a box, so that you don't have spill going all over the back of the set, especially when she's so close to the background like that. All right, so that should be pretty good. So Amanda, you're just going to hold this for me. It's on channel B, and that should be about right. So we're going to kind of come up like that, aiming it right at her nose, okay, when she comes to look at you. That's on channel B, this is on channel A, and we'll see what we got. So channel A was set for the background, and we know what that's going to do. I'm going to go to channel B now and turn that one on. And I have no idea how much light we're getting out of that, so we'll just give it a little test. Okay, so yeah, just look right at that box there. Lean more on that right elbow, kind of lean into it a little more saucy. There you go. We'll see what we get. All right, it's looking pretty saucy, but it's too bright, right? So we're going to take it down. How much do you guys think out in the audience? I'm thinking like a stop and a third. Yeah, that's good. Stop and a third. So 1, 2, 3, and a third. Let's try that same position there, same thing. And we have a pretty beautiful light on her right there. So what we have now is a beautiful shaping light. It's still somewhat soft. That little glow behind her is just enough to offset the shadow side of her face, if you can kind of see that going on there. We might bring the main one down just a wee bit. If I had my druthers, I would drop the existing light down just a little bit more, but I can't because we need them for shooting video. And that would give me a little more drama in the shot. But I think it looks pretty nice even with that amount of background there. So let's go ahead and do one more. I like the way you're looking there. Lean onto the elbow, kind of give me a little saucy there. And I'm going to see if we pull your hair over to the right side of your head, how that looks. Kind of drape it over your shoulder there on the right. Good. And looking up towards that light. Yeah. Sit up just a little taller there. Good. Okay. Is that in the same position, that light, as it was before there?
It's a little lower.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Okay.
Lower
Look
than that?
a little higher.
Okay.
And then just looking right into the light there. That's nice. Okay, so keeping her chin and her nose towards the light. So when I say follow your nose, what we're trying to do is to make sure that that light source is pointing at her nose. When you have a small light source, it's really important that you follow her nose. And that means if she's looking right at me, so let's try that now. You have keep the box where it was, but you look right at me instead. We're not going to get as flattering a light. You look at the shadows now. It's a little more exposed, but that's okay. But look at the shadows on her, the sides of her face, not quite as flattering as the previous one when she's looking up and it's following her nose, right? So especially important when you have a very harsh light source or a smaller light source, follow their nose. And that's one of the beautiful things about speedlights is you're mobile. So Amanda can follow her. So say now we want to do one looking directly at camera. All Amanda needs to do is to come here, not that far, stay close, but you're going to stay above her. Yeah, okay. And then we can fire that way, chin up just slightly down there. Beautiful. All right, so now we brought the light source front. If we want her to be looking front, and that is more flattering light than the previous, which was that, right? Because it didn't follow her nose, and now it does. Okay, but I actually like when it's more to the direction like that, when you're off to the side. That was one of my favorite ones there. Because it adds more dimension to her face. You know, her jaw, her cheekbone, everything is much more interesting. It's more dramatic. And again, I'd love to drop the background in its entirety a little more. Let me just actually check one thing here. We can go to low 2. No, that's it. Okay, let's try this. We'll go over this way. Raise these up. Change that one up. I'm going to raise these up and change my aperture as well. So let's go back to the original position here on the side. Looking good. Okay, kind of lounge into that shoulder a little more. I like your kind of hand kind of off the side there and looking right at that light. Raise it up just a little bit and bring it back away from me just a little bit. Amanda, there we go. Okay. I don't think she blinked right when I did that. Here we're getting closer to what I want. Okay, so I brought the background down a little more by changing my f-stop. It's not the ideal f-stop because I'd had to go above 1.4, which in this case I like that 1.4, so now I'm at 2.2. But I've been able to keep my flash and my background a little more dramatic. So let's go even more. I'm going to change 2. Let's go to f3.2. Raise that up a little bit. I'm going to raise both my flashes up the same amount that I changed my f-stop, so that way my flash should stay consistent, but the background should go a little bit darker. Let's try that again. That's good. Nice. There we go. And I like my background even, the flash itself on the background. I'm going to raise that one up just a little bit here. Okay, one more. That was good. Looking up there. Beautiful. Okay, we got that up on screen. Okay, So we brought the background, the ambient light down, which gives more drama to the main light, and then we're looking pretty good. Now that could make a nice, if you turn it to black and white, could make a really interesting shot. And let's actually try a little different pose. So what if you kind of kick your feet up, lean back into it, kind of drape your head back over there, you cover those things up. I'm going to scoot your down that more. You're almost going to lean back so your head's off the edge of the thing. We're just going to be a head and shoulder shot, so we're not going to see your legs. Don't even worry about that. Yeah. And put this left hand up, maybe kind of going to brace yourself. The other left hand. Yeah, there you go, just like that. Yeah, and just kind of play with your hair just like that. That's great. Hands, fingers through your hair is kind of cool. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so what we're going to do with this light, again, we're following her nose. Okay, same thing there. Good, love the hair like that. The other hand, why don't you kind of just put it right over your tummy, just kind of rest it there. Yep. The background, we don't have a background light, so it's still glowing up there, but I'm going to be shooting down, so that background probably needs to move. So I'm going to move it. Hang tight. And this time I'm going to shoot the light on the background down to the floor, because that's actually what I'm seeing behind her is a little bit of the floor through this shot. Okay? So I've got my light aiming right there. So when I shoot from here, I have a little bit of glow on the floor behind her. I think that's about the right spot. Did I had a step stool ladder around here somewhere? We'll start with one right here and see where that goes. Let's see what we got. Okay. Okay, so this time it's no smile. This is like sultry. Looking at the light. Yeah. Good. Chin up just a little more. There we go. Okay, the background on fire. I think I did in the wrong spot. Okay, good. We're getting there. We need a little more shadow on this side of her face, so we're going to move the light that way. Okay. You see on the screen what we're doing, what we're working with here? Good? Okay. I'm going to move up just a wee bit higher, and I'm going to move my background light. And I've also asked Amanda to move this light. If you look at the image there, the shadow, the side of her face facing me is a little too bright. So I just had her move the light a little bit. And let's see where that goes. All right. And you're going to roll your face, your chin towards me this way, so you turn your whole face that way. Yeah, looking right at me. You can look right at me there. Okay, that's good. Okay, cool. And then I'm going to get my stool and get a little higher up. Okay, there we go. Bring that light right over here. I'm sorry, not over there, Amanda. Pull it back just a little bit. Right there, yeah. Good. Okay, so by moving that light, actually bring that same light, but just bring it up higher there. So what we're trying to do is to create a little bit of a shadow. It's called a butterfly lighting, where you create a little bit of a shadow under her nose. So bring your chin down that way, hon, just a little bit. Perfect. Okay. And Amanda, you're going to come a little closer, but just still keep it right above the top of her. Okay. Aiming at her nose. There we go. And there we go. Okay, so you can see that little shadow under her nose is a little, they call it a butterfly lighting because it creates what looks like a butterfly. If you squint your eyes and shake your head around, it kind of looks like a butterfly if you're dizzy, but I don't know why they really call it a butterfly light. But it gives a nice little Hurrell Hollywood style look to that light. Now this, I'd love to be able to take it to Lightroom, turn it black and white, make a dramatic portrait out of it. The one other thing that I would love to see on this is a little hair light. Instead of that background light, I'm going to aim that now at her hair to have a little shine on her hair that's draping down, and then we can play with this main light positioning and get her face position just right, but I think we're really close to what we want. One other thing that's kind of fun to do is to kind of play with flare from your background light, and we haven't done that yet, but we may do that as well. Having the light actually flare into the lens for some kind of a dreamy kind of feel to it. So right now it's just going to aim right at her hair. We'll see how that works right that. That's good with the light. That should work. No flashies. Everything went to sleep. One more time. There, it's going. Okay, I was pressing something. Chin up just a touch. Good. Okay, I don't know if I saw much from that background hair light. You see now our main light looks great. I'm going to kick up that hair light just a little bit more. Make sure we're getting good stuff out of that. I think she's in a good position. Stay right there. And I'm going to kick the power up on the background too, on the hair light, just to make sure it's actually doing its job. Here we go. 3, 2, and 1. Is it even going higher? More. Nope. I think I changed the setting on here. It's just not responding. Channel A. Oh, I had it in the wrong mode. Sorry. Now it's probably going to be blasting on her now. So the problem with not having your assistants doing things is you try to do it and you screw it up. You know, my assistants usually know more than I do about adjusting my lights, so that's kind of an important thing to do. So let's go down, because I know I kicked that thing way up, and let's try one more time. Probably have a generous background light now. There we go. All right, so now I have beautiful shine on her hair. I probably want to kick that down another 2/3 of a stop, and then we're good. Nice. Turn your chin up that way just a little bit. Good. Okay. You see on screen now? Okay, so now we've got our hair light, nicely little shine, glow, a little edge light on her arms. Looks nice to separate her. The pattern of the main light on her I think is really nice. Got a nice little nose shadow, chin shadow. We'd probably vignette off the foreground and post in Photoshop or in Lightroom. What I would do is turn it black and white. Vignette the bottom. The arm of the couch, because it's a white couch, is a little bit bright, so it's distracting to the eye. So all we do is darken that down, make it black and white, and we'd have a pretty nice portrait. Of course, you got to do like hours of retouching if you want a true Hurrell portrait. Fortunately, she has beautiful skin. We wouldn't take too long to do that at all. The next scene was when we changed over to that little impact quick box. Remember the small box inside of the speedlight? And the reason we liked this one was because it creates a dramatic light, but it's still somewhat soft. It's just like the right size for a dramatic yet a little bit soft light. If I use direct speedlight, direct flash, or even a grid spot, those shadow lines and transitions, if we look back at the image here, and notice these shadow transition lines right around her jawline here and down there along her neck. Those lines would be harsh black lines, which are not generally very flattering. And also, if she had anything but imperfect skin, it would bring out every single pore and everything in perfection, which is very difficult unless you have a model that's perfectly made up and has this amazing bone structure. So this kind of helps to take the edge off of that, but still give you dramatic lighting, which I think is really kind of cool. So what we did in this shot, if you remember, we put a backlight on the wall just to have a little glow on the shadow side of her face. So if you look at the image, we have this nice depth going from shadow on the wall, moving as your eye moves from left to right generally when you look at things. Most of us do in America. Anyway, so you go from left to right, shadow, then you go into highlight, right? Then it transitions to shadow, then it goes back to highlight, and then back into shadow. So you have this stepping of light, shadow, which creates a really nice depth in the image. So that's something to just kind of think through or to keep in mind when you're photographing is how can you create depth if you're outside photographing maybe. Can you place you're going to lighten up their model's face, but maybe right behind her you have some nice shadowy area, some dark trees or something to separate, make her pop. So in this case we're using that same concept, but just moving across the frame, dark, light, and that helps to create a little more depth. First thing on this one, I do want to take down the arm of the chair just like we did in the other. So I'll go to the K brush and I'll hit new just to make sure we're creating a new adjustment and use smokeless burn again. Take a fairly large brush because I don't want to see brush strokes. I just want to have enough to take down that brightness of the chair from the front. Okay. Everything else I think tonally looks pretty good. What I might do is that her dress now lost a little bit when we added the contrast. So it's a little dark here on the dress, and I want to see some of that sparkle and the texture of the dress. So I'm going to create one more adjustment, new again, and this time I'll use my digital fill flash preset. Okay, size down the brush, and we're just going to do a few little dabs on the dress there. We can see it on your screen or not. It's showing up on mine. I'm going to go a little brighter than I normally would. It's starting to show up on the screen. So that reveals some of the texture, the sequins on the dress right there, and she's looking pretty good. But we have to do one more thing, is enhance the eyes. When you're doing a Hollywood-style portrait, the eyes are all important. So we'll take our digital fill flash brush, the same one that we just used, but we're going to click a new adjustment. Use digital fill flash, and this time I'm going to go in really tight with a small brush. Make sure that my flow now, in this case, is back down low to 20 or so. And I'm going to just do a little dab in the eye whites, okay? If she has light-colored eyes, you may want to do a dab in the iris as well, just to kind of make that have a little more contrast. Okay, so just keep dabbing kind of gently into the eye whites. You have a soft brush because your feather is up fairly high. So if you look on the right here, again on my screen, the feather is about 70, and that enables you to keep a soft edge on your brush so that you don't have to worry about being precise. Now once you've done this to her eyes, I usually go a little further in anticipation that I will then come back on the top right of my screen here. There's a triangle, and you close that triangle, and all of the individual adjustments disappear, and you have a master slider now that you can fine-tune to change the overall adjustments. So if you just watch the whites in her eyes here as I do this, hey, this could be a good Flixel thing right here. You know, her eyes are glowing at you. Maybe not. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tone down the eye whitening so it doesn't look quite as alien-like. Bring it down, the adjustment I made, and there we go.